Get in the know. Non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
Welcome into the final Purple Daily episode of 2022. The pressure is on, boys, to finish the year strong here. All right, finish the year, set the tone, set the edge for 2023. Are you ready for this responsibility?
Well, of course. You know why? Because any bad shows were a complete fluke. Complete fluke. Jair Alexander told me, Judd, you've had a great year. You've been fantastic. If there were bad shows, it was a fluke, just like Justin Jefferson's first game against the Packers. A complete fluke. He's not that good.
What did he have, like 9 catches for like 160 yards or something? Total fluke. No, it's literally like 10 of his games this year are like that. Actually, we will get into Judd created a stir on Twitter. We're going to get to that. But this is Purple Daily, daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. And despite what the disrespectful national media and Vegas and pretty much everyone else has to say, the Vikings are in pretty good shape to take a run at a Super Bowl because they don't have to give any of their 12 wins back. I don't know if people realize that, but they have won 12 games. And no matter what happens here, no matter how ugly a game or two might be to end the season, they still have 12 wins. Let's shout out our friends at TCL, one of the world's best-selling consumer electronics brands. They have a new lineup of award-winning TVs delivering the most entertainment with stunning resolution, all at an affordable cost. Enjoy more of the things you love with TCL. And Judd, I know that you're going to be, my guess is most people drink champagne. They cheer champagne. Do you pour Surly in a champagne glass, or how do you ring in the new year?
No,
you're probably sleeping at midnight, but
I might be
at like 8:30.
No,
I would never disrespect my beer like that. My beer goes in a cold glass, and yes, my beer, of course, is. I'll be cheersing. Let's see, what will I pick tonight at midnight if I am awake or before? Oh, Furious! I've got a refrigerator full of them. That's what I'll pick. You know what? It might be a new year for Sports Dad, but that doesn't mean that there's a new beer. The beer is Surly.
Amen. One time actually, we don't stay up till midnight very often in the Mackey household. We like to get our fun in early in the day and then just kind of settle in and go to bed at a reasonable hour. I think once we both got to our 30s, it was like, we don't really need to be out at midnight. One time, a couple years ago, we celebrated the British New Year as it was happening on TV at 5 o'clock. And then we watched a couple things on like Netflix and passed out by about 8:30. If you are an early to bed, early riser, and you don't want to, the peer pressure of staying out till midnight, let me recommend to you the British New Year celebration. Get it out of the way early and then enjoy the rest of your night just as you would.
I want to say it's 6 o'clock Central Time. So it's probably like now in Seattle, it's probably 4 o'clock. Or you know what you can do now, really? Watch the ball drop at midnight Eastern for you, Phil, in Seattle.
That'd be 9 o'clock.
Yes. Yeah. That's a perfect.
That's actually really nice. Yeah. I like that.
And then, maybe sip on a celebratory Surly and then fade out. Yeah.
I have a couple that we're meeting up with for New Year's Eve tonight. And he said strictly when we made these plans last week, he said, come over. Let's have some hors d'oeuvres. Let's have some drinks. But I'm just letting you know, I have a kid-free night and I'm going to be in bed at 11 p.m. whether you're still in my house or not. And I said, all right, we might still be there, but we'll talk about that when we get there.
Wait, would he be up later if the kids were around? Is that what he's implying? He's just saying regardless of whether the kids are around, I'm going to bed.
Because the kid is not in their possession tonight. He's going to bed early and doesn't have to deal with the kid.
Okay.
What, did they rent the kid out?
Yeah, I think they gave it to grandma or grandpa or something. I don't know.
Nice.
Yeah, there's a new app. You can just like rent your kid out for a couple days.
They rented out their kid. They inherited this guy for a night. So I don't know if it's a good trade.
Amazing.
No, because the kid don't drink.
So the Vikings play the Packers, and congratulations to the Packers for getting their bleep together just in time for this game to matter. The Packers are playing for their season. The Vikings are playing for seeding. And that dynamic alone, we'll make the pick later on in the episode here, but that dynamic alone probably leans Packers, that if there's one team that's desperately trying to keep their season alive and the other team wants to win, but if they lose, it's not that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. So we can talk about that dynamic. But Judd has already gotten the festivities started here. He got into a Twitter spat with the Locked On Packers podcast host earlier this week, in which I think he had an episode and some tweets that said the Vikings are frauds and here's why the Packers are better. and you basically told him, watch the games, Sonny, and it caused a huge brouhaha. So let's just start there.
Yes.
Packer fans, led by Packer fan podcasters, think the Vikings are a joke. And they think the first game of the season was a fluke, and they think that the Packers are currently a better team than the Vikings, despite what the records say. And now you have podcasters from each tribe fighting each other on Twitter. So let's just start there, Judd.
Okay, the thing that drives me crazy here is this. The advanced metrics of any sport enhance that sport. And I'm not against them at all. I think that it's fun. Like, there's more now than ever to delve into, right? To have a conversation. But what drives me crazy, and I feel like analytics in football are less trustworthy than baseball a bit. Football is just such a weird game. But again, I applaud if you can use things to back up an argument. Awesome. But the problem with football, or in this case, Packers fans, is they don't watch the Vikings, and they look at things like DVOA, which again enhances the enjoyment of the sport, but does not define it. They look at that and they say, okay, this means I can now prove the Vikings aren't good. And my point was, okay, you've got to watch the games though. It would be like right now if I said, you know what, Packers, I don't know, I'll pick an arbitrary fake fight. The Packers special teams is the worst in history. Well, why do you say that, Judd? Because I've been looking at the advanced metrics, and those say the Packers special teams sucks. Well, have you watched them at all, Judd? No, not really. I've watched them once against the Vikings, but I really didn't watch them. But I'm telling you right now, the advanced metrics say this. So what drove me crazy was that this guy, I think his name was Pete, he was trolling. But he was trolling by trying to act like he was really smart because he understands what those numbers mean. And those I hate when people troll and try to act like they're educated. He's not educated. He's looking at one group of things and saying, this tells me. And you know what? Ultimately, he might be right, but his process is flawed. And that is the process of you have to understand how the team operates before you come in with the hammer of their season.
Yeah, there's so much to unpack here. I think let's start with the fact that if the Packers do win and they are favored to win, they have more reason to want to win this game because their life depends on it this season if they don't win this game. There's going to be a lot of people taking victory laps for sure across the border, but even around the national media. Well, see, not just more proof that the Vikings are frauds and that the Packers are better. And again, I would say that even if the Vikings were less fraudulent from an analytical standpoint, the Packers would be a dangerous team to watch in this game because for the fifth time, their season depends on it, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear, even if the Packers win, that they'll see this is the Packers. I think two things can be true. The Vikings have probably outperformed what their record should be this season. Like if you ran this entire season back 100 times, they probably don't have 12 wins after 15 games all that often. So I'm willing to say for sure there's been some good fortune. The Vikings have taken advantage of some late game situations that have gone their way, and some of it's sprinkled with luck, but some of it's also like Patrick Peterson film study led to an interception that iced a game against the Bills or whatever. Or the offense is dialed in situationally, knowing exactly what they're doing in the fourth quarter of a tied game or needing a touchdown, right? So, but if you ran this season back 100 times, it's likely they are sitting at maybe 10 wins instead of 12 more often. Just like on the other side, the Packers have probably underperformed where they should be. These teams are probably much closer in how good they actually are than their records indicate, and I will grant you that. But people have taken this so far down the road of Vikings are. It's like they have 12 wins. They don't have to give any of those 12 wins back. They've played great in the fourth quarter. They are one of the 2 or 3 highest scoring, best fourth quarter margin teams in the NFL. So a lot of these NFL games wind up being close for whatever reason, whether it's the Vikings played poorly for a stretch, or the opponent, whatever. So most NFL games are pretty close in the fourth quarter, and the Vikings throttle down in the fourth quarter better than almost any other team. If you want to take that piece of evidence and chalk it up as pure luck and fraudulence, do it at your own risk, is what I say.
And are you telling me 11 one-score wins are all flukes? Like, that's the thing about it. You came back from 17 down in Buffalo. Is that a fluke? Now, Buffalo dropped the ball at the goal line, essentially.
But you failed on a half-inch quarterback sneak.
Exactly.
That's unlucky.
But what I'm saying is, if they had 4 to 5 one-score wins, I'd say, okay, I sort of get, that's not all that's a lot, but it's not a ton. But let's say 4 times they got extremely fortunate. But go back and watch these games. And yes, are the Vikings having a season where they get fortunate? Absolutely. But you know what? Another Vikings team that did the same thing until they lost in the conference championship game, the 2009 team. The Greg Lewis play.
Hit a Hail Mary.
The Greg Lewis play is an unbelievable play in the history of this franchise in week 3. But nonetheless, it also took some good fortune.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers has hit how many Hail Marys in his career, right?
The Detroit one, right? Like, okay, he's got a huge... Is it a total fluke if the starting point is the guy has a bleeping arm that's a cannon?
Yeah, it's lucky to hit Hail Marys, but it's also like there's a reason why.
But he got the ball there is what I'm saying.
He's getting the ball there more often than other
exactly. So like, you
shouldn't have to apologize for the luck factor in the NFL.
Nationally, I feel like the media is frustrated by one thing in particular, that the Vikings didn't go away after the Dallas loss. Like, I think that was the chest pounding week. You see, because they got killed. You see, we told you they're no good. Now watch them. But it all started up again. Like, I think the national pundits who hate this team or are trying to say they're an extremely lucky, not really a good team, I think they thought the Dallas game ended it, right? Like, now they're going to get their comeuppance. Now we're going to see the real Vikings. And they turned around and started to win again.
I know. So it's just, this thing has gotten so out of hand. The Vikings don't have to give back any wins. The Vikings have 12 wins. They don't have to apologize. They don't have to give any back. And then the second part of the argument is, right, but if they keep playing this way, they are probably going to lose in the playoffs. To which I say 2 things. Well, everyone except one team is going to lose in the playoffs. So you could literally make the argument about any team other than like the Chiefs or something. Like you're going to lose in the playoffs. There's a risk you might lose in the playoffs. We're well aware. The Vikings have rolled into the playoffs with the greatest offense of all time, a Hall of Fame quarterback 10 years later. They've rolled into the playoffs with far more optimism than this before, and it has ended in a fiery car crash. So why not try this method where they're just playing a bunch of close games, getting a bunch of great experience in close games, flying under the radar, whiteboard material every single week from guys like Jair Alexander saying that Justin Jefferson's a fluke, right? Mm-hmm. Why not try it this way? And I guess the other point to it that I would make is, okay, maybe the Vikings aren't favorites to advance to the Super Bowl from the NFC. To which I would say, I don't know that was the expectation at the start of the season, but it was for the Packers. So if you want to take the Vikings and put them next to the Packers, and you want to label one of them frauds, how about the team that was, according to Vegas, according to the national media and everything, even without Devontae Adams, consensus to win the division and consensus to be one of the 4 or 5 best teams in the NFL, 12 wins, maybe 13 again. Maybe they drop back a win or 2 because Devontae Adams is gone. But that team, to me, is still fighting with, a week left in the regular season to make a wild card spot. That's the fraud. The Packers are the fraud this season, not the Vikings, who have overachieved expectations. I don't need them to get to the Super Bowl to validate what they've done this season. Now, at some point, the goal of this show is go win a Super Bowl before we die. I don't know that was the stated goal 3 months ago. So if anyone's a fraud here, it's the Packers, still fighting to finish 500 as we get into the first week of January, for God's sakes.
And the juxtaposition, too, as far as the Vikings go, is this one. A year ago, we sat here and fought back against a narrative then that was, well, I believe the Vikings were in a record, I don't know, what 1-score games, and they lost, I don't know. But they basically were in the same exact predicament, but they lost them all. And the narrative that we fought back against was, well, if they go back and win all those one-score games, they win about 14 games. And we said, yeah, but they didn't. That's the most important thing. So I don't understand. So the narrative now is, well, they're winning all these one-score games. They're a fluke. And the whole point, at least my point, has always been this. I want you to win games. Like, I want the teams I follow to win games. If they do, I'm not going to sit there every week and quibble about it. Kirk Cousins. What did we fight at? And I mean, the Cousins thing is like a branch off this tree. And it's also turned into this, because I keep seeing tweets about, well, now, your show gets it about Kirk. Why do we get it? Because he is now turned into a clutch quarterback.
Yeah.
And so, okay, his statistics until the last 2 games have been down. Again, I don't care. Is he winning games? So, like, the narrative is, well, I mean, Kirk's stats are great. And if you turn all those one-score games the Vikings lost into wins, they're probably going to be a great team. Okay, but they didn't. And I don't care about his stats. So, like, if I have to pick the door, I'm picking this door, which is door 2, which is win one-score games. Your quarterback is clutch.
Yeah.
A lot more fun to me.
And how sustainable is it? That's the biggest question for 3 months, right? How sustainable is this? Can they really keep doing this? Well, it's sustained enough for them to win 12 games in the regular season. And if you have a sample size argument there, yeah, but like the sample size is too small. If you were to play this out for 100 games, it would even out. To which I say, well, good luck with that, because they're about to enter smaller sample size land, which is the playoffs. Look at the 2007 Giants, the 2012 Ravens, the 2011 Giants. Even that Cardinals team with Kurt Warner that made it to the Super Bowl in like 2008.
Yep.
If you ran those seasons and those playoffs back 100 times, is it likely that those teams would be the ones playing in or winning the Super Bowl? No. But this is the NFL. It's built upon small sample sizes and close games in the fourth quarter. And so give me the coach and give me the team that has shown that they can repeatedly operate in those situations before you call them frauds.
The funniest thing, too, is the entire league is built on luck. The entire thing.
The helmet catch.
The foundation of the building is good fortune. I mean, it starts with this. Do your best players get hurt? Do your best players get hurt? Okay, let's start with that one. Let's look at the quarterbacks who have started games now. David Blau, who was on the Vikings practice squad all season long, is going to start for the Cardinals.
Is that happening?
Yeah, yes, he's going to have to start. Right. But the point is, okay, so let's talk about luck, good fortune. But if you're going to go there, well, Kirk Cousins hasn't got hurt and my team's quarterback has. Is that pure luck, or is that, no, Kirk's pretty damn tough and doesn't get hurt, and credit to him. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if you want to go down the good fortune path, this entire thing, it's why it's so hard to predict year to year. It's why every year when the schedule comes out and we do our predictions, we all basically say by November 1st, predicting the Vikings opponents and how good that team is going to be is damn near impossible, because things shift. Guys get hurt. Weird things happen. You never know. How many teams in this league, and I can count them on one hand and probably less than 5 fingers, how many teams on this league can you consistently say, I know that team is going to be good when for instance 2023 starts?
Yeah, it's the teams with the Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's it, baby.
And quite frankly, as the number one Kirk hater, Kirk Cousins teams are always competitive because he's good enough and he's always on the field. And so even if you have a bad defense, this is one of the best compliments you can give him, is that when he is on your team, even if you have a bad defense or a weird coaching relationship, because he's durable and because he is one of the top, like he's in the top half at worst starting quarterbacks in the league, and at best he's in the top 10, like probably this season, right? You're not gonna go 4-13 with him as your quarterback. You're gonna be competitive, fighting for a playoff spot at worst. And then if things go right, you get a Justin Jefferson, you get a head coach that knows offense, etc. Now all of a sudden you're 12-13 wins for the first time in his career.
One last thing off this too, because I feel like there's so much fighting going on that common sense gets lost, and we're so intrigued by our narratives, we lose the actualities. For a long time, Phil, we have both talked about, but you have documented this. Why is a quarterback star, excellent QB. Why is that player so valuable on a rookie contract? Because it allows you to build up around him. The Vikings have brilliantly, and again, some of it's probably luck, but that's fine. The Vikings have brilliantly, for now, it's going to end soon, reverse engineered the entire premise by doing this. They hired a coach, offensive coach, smart move, turned out to be a good coach. They have one of, if not, and I think he might be the best right now, best receivers in the National Football League on their team on a rookie contract.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk is, and I know what I'm going to get now. I'm going to get bombarded with New Year's. You're an idiot, Zolgad. You're bashing Kirk. I'm not. Justin Jefferson's unbelievable. Kirk is good. He's damn good. But the fact is, Kirk Cousins' now contract is entirely palatable for now because an unbelievable talent who's going to be paid through the roof eventually is on his offense, and he can throw to him. And credit to everybody, Kirk, O'Connell, and Jefferson for doing his job. Credit to everybody for utilizing that guy. It's why we were so frustrated last year when they're like, well, Justin Jefferson is out of the game plan. And all the films these were like, he's out of the game plan. They told us he's out of the game plan. And we're like, is he really? Is that really a good idea? So the Vikings for a year have done a brilliant job of reverse engineering the cap to utilize a player who incredibly is almost as valuable as a star quarterback, and that guy's name is Justin Jefferson.
Yeah. Dex, why don't you tell the audience real quick about a new partner of ours, Popcorn, and then tell them about Underdog, and then you lead us off with your thoughts and the pick. I'll throw it back to me. I'll set up the spread, and then we'll go from there and make our actual picks here.
All right, so old Dex Tweets loves me some popcorn, okay? I know Phil Macadac, I know Judd Zolgad, big popcorn guys.
Love me some popcorn.
How about from our friends at Popcorn? We got here spicy cheddar. Okay, ready for this one, Phil? Phil's going to love this next one. Southwest Heat Wave.
Oh, well.
Southwest Heat Wave.
Old Macadac's got to be a little careful with anything that involves heat and spice, but gladly on a Friday night,
And how about you store all this popcorn in a great Vikings-themed bucket, baby. Look at this. Look at this beauty. Look at this beauty here, okay? This is from our friends at Popped Corn. They're located actually at US Bank Stadium. So they have two sections as well at US Bank Stadium in the upper levels and on the lower levels. You can also buy this popcorn at popcorn.com. They're located here in the Twin Cities in Minnetonka. However, if you want it, our Purple Daily family that is all over the globe, basically, you can order this popcorn on their website as well. So go to poppedcorn.com to learn more. There's plenty of great flavors out there. I housed the dill pickle popcorn in like 5 minutes yesterday. Small batch popcorn, so great popcorn. You can load them up here with your big Vikings bucket. You can check them out at US Bank Stadium. Go check out Popped Corn. And yes, Underdog Fantasy, the best and easiest way to play fantasy sports. We're talking Vikings and Packers. So I took this slip, boys. I decided to put a little parlay here. Dalvin Cook. Let's get a touchdown. Can Dalvin Cook basically get an anytime touchdown here of one touchdown of rushing or receiving? And then A.J. Dillon. Let's put the lower on A.J. They're a two-headed monster there, but I think it's going to be Aaron Jones that might feast more than A.J. Dillon, which we'll get into here in just a bit. But I'll take the lower on his rushing and receiving yards. You can make these picks, too, at Underdog Fantasy. And when you use promo code SCORE when you sign up, they'll match your first deposit up to $100. Go check out Underdog Fantasy and go play the Underdog Fantasy app.
So, boys, let's get to the actual picks here. Vikings are 3-point underdogs in most sports books. 3-point underdogs on the road at Lambeau. 62% of the bets are on the Vikings. 68% of the money is on the Vikings. So we've kind of gone from, as the fraud narrative built up and up and up and up, and then it's like the fraud bubble popped against the Lions, where there was like 90% of the money was on the Lions in that game because, oh my God, the Vikings can't keep doing this, and they were right. It's now leveled back off to now bettors see value in the Vikings getting the 3 points in Green Bay here. So that's why 68% of the money is on the Vikings. The Action Network write-up is hilarious and very disrespectful to the Vikings. So let me read this to you guys, and then we'll start with Declan. Is it disrespectful the Vikings, 12-3, are underdogs yet again? I'm not so sure, not when we all see the same thing the numbers say, that the Packers are the better team. Green Bay is a top 10 offense by DVOA. Minnesota is 19th. Of course, Minnesota is, I think, 6th or 7th in actual points per game. So this is saying process-wise, Packers are better. Results-wise, team that has actually scored the most points, Vikings are better. So do with that what you will. The Packers rank better defensively as well in DVOA, and they're elite defending the pass by DVOA, and won't likely leave Justin Jefferson to do whatever he wants like they did in Week 1. The Packers have come a long way since that game, with a healthier offensive line, far better chemistry between the receivers and Rodgers, and a defense that's starting to find some answers. In a cold, late afternoon January game at Lambeau, with a playoff feel to it, do you want your money on Rodgers or Cousins? Rodgers is 7-2 straight up lifetime in cold weather games against the Vikings. Close your eyes and imagine this game. Do you imagine a sad, cold Kirk Cousins alone on the sidelines after his third interception with 112 yards deep in the game as Justin Jefferson stomps around looking for a quarterback that can get him the ball while yet another Packer Lambeau leaps into the stands? Yeah, that's what I envision too. Grab the 3 while it's still there. Oh, man. So, all right, Dex, let's start with you. Vikings 3-point underdogs. Who wins the game and by how many?
So I do think the Vikings win this game. I think it's a little bit more of a slugfest because Green Bay's playing a lot better. And the weird thing is, it's probably the first time in an Aaron Rodgers era and from a Vikings fan's perspective that I actually trust the weapons and the running game around Aaron Rodgers more than I actually trust Aaron Rodgers. Like I think guys like Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon are going to make more of an impact than when Rodgers is throwing the football, which is probably like the first time that has ever happened. Now, Rodgers is still dangerous. I'm not discrediting him because when he can still do amazing things. But I actually think it's the things around the Packers outside of Aaron Rodgers that are more of the cause for concern, because if those things get going, it's going to be a long day for the Vikings. However, the Vikings have won in Lambeau before. They won in a weird situation. What was it, in 2020 when the wind was blowing and Dalvin Cook had like a 4-touchdown game? Aaron Rodgers has also lost in playoff games in Lambeau Field. It's not like he's invincible at cold weather games at Lambeau Field. Jimmy Garoppolo went in there and beat him last year in the divisional round. Yeah. So I think the Vikings win this game. I will say 27-22. 27-22.
I think the Vikings win too. And I do think that part of the important thing is, and in this sense, I think the Vikings internally love this. I think the disrespect is great because it's a rallying cry every week. Every week you're being told that, hey, you won 12 games, but you suck, buddy. And so I actually think that works because this might sound weird, but professional athletes love that underlying factor of being told they can't win or they shouldn't win. I got the Vikings 24, Packers 21. I think that it's going to be a game in which if I had questions, the fact that Jair Alexander called out Jefferson's first game as a fluke is a beautiful thing. I don't think
why would you do that?
I have no idea. And I don't think teams understand now that the Vikings never look at film and say, what do we do if Jefferson's taken away? They look at film and say, oh, we're going to him. We're just going to find out exactly how. Yeah. I think that it's going to provide, again, an underlying motivational factor that a guy who is right now probably the best receiver in the entire league has been told, yeah, sort of a fluke. And Jair Alexander at his best is good, but he ain't keeping up, I don't think, consistently with Jefferson. So 24-21, I have the Vikings winning. And honestly, it's become very hard, in my opinion, to go against the Vikings because look at how they've won games. Greg Joseph hit a 61-yard field goal. They came back from 17 down in Buffalo. They were dead. They came back. They were down by 33 against, I don't care if it's against Benilde St. Margaret's varsity. You're down 33 at half. Yeah. You come back and win. So anyway, I am going to ride this Vikings train, I think, until it comes to some type of end.
All right, I'm going to buzzkill this. I think they lose. But I don't think it really matters that much. It might cost them the second seed if they lose this game, depending on what happens with San Francisco this week and next week.
Yep.
But there are two main reasons why I say this. Number one, the Packers are desperate. Their season is on the line here. If they lose this game, they're done. The Vikings have some cushion here. So, in terms of just who's the more desperate team, it's the Packers at home playing for their playoff lives. They have to win. Secondly, the Packers have the second highest blitz rate in the NFL and a top 5 pressure rate as a defense. these are the types of defenses that Kirk struggles the most against. On the road, blitz is in your face. Bradbury hasn't practiced all week, so Schlottman's going to be in there again. The Packers get pressure. They send extra men. Again, it's road. It's a late afternoon. A lot of pressure. This is just. It's not a Kirk game. It's not a game where you would say, oh, this is where he's gonna. Now, would it shock me if he, like he's been doing all season, found a way to throw for 290 yards and 3 touchdowns? Wouldn't shock me at all. But I think the Packers have more reason to want to desperately pull this game out. And then a lot of Packer fans, if it happens, are going to see, we told you so. It's like, okay, well, the division banner will be hung inside U.S. Bank Stadium, not Lambeau Field.
The DVOA, though, that's what matters.
Yeah.
The banner, DVOA winner 2022, Green Bay Packers. Congratulations. That's a great banner you got right there.
So I will say that it is a close game, but it's something like Packers put up 27 points, Vikings put up 20. Maybe the Vikings have the ball, chance to tie it, and then it's just kind of all up to Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins at that point.
The incredible thing about this team, though, is this, and this is why I find it so difficult to go against them. If you think it's going to be a close game, I struggle to pick against them. So, like, I almost if
they are due to lose a close game. That would be the reason. If you think
right, but I mean they are. But like, when's it going to happen? And the fact that they keep and what the NFL wants in this era now is what the Vikings and their opponents give them every week, and the Vikings are finding ways to win those games, and it is the damnedest thing. But yeah, I would not be shocked if they lost. I do think that second seed is pretty important because I understand it that the whole thing about playing on the road in the playoffs has I don't want to say gotten easier, but it's diminished as far as, if you have home field, you're going to make a run through the playoffs. I do think going to Santa Clara to play the Niners is probably near the bottom of my choices.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, the Raiders just benched Derek Carr, who's been terrible, and they're going to roll with is it Jared Stidham?
Yeah.
And it's
that
Raiders.
Enjoy.
Yeah. So it's that Raiders team that's playing the Niners. So the Niners are pretty heavy favorites, even as a road team in that game. And then the other rooting interest for Vikings fans, the Eagles take on the Saints at home in Philadelphia. But the Saints are still fighting to win the Saints are like 3 games under 500, but they have a chance to still win their division. So that's not a total pushover game, but it's going to be likely that the Eagles win and clinch the 1 seed, and likely that the Niners win and force you to have to win to stay in the 2 seed. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But there you go. There's the picks. I am Buzz Killington for the week, but in the end, it really
you Buzz killed Detroit too and turned out to be right.
It's true. I hated that I was right. I might be right this time again. Now, of course, if the Packers win this game, it does open the door for them to be the 7 seed, but you might then be the 3 seed. I'm saying there's a path to them winning and you hosting them in the first round of the playoffs here still. We'll see.
Yeah, And that's the one where I hear, I fear the Packers. It's like, okay, if you have to play the Packers, you have to play the Packers.
Right, because you'll have to play the Niners, the Cowboys, the Eagles. Like, you're gonna play.
I mean, hopefully you play good teams.
Or they're the 7 seed. They go to San Francisco, knock off the Niners. The Vikings win their wild card game. The Packers have to come back to Minneapolis in the divisional round.
Plenty of paths.
ESPN's playoff predictor thing is the ultimate place to go and just have fun with that.
All right, that's a wrap. Happy New Year. Happy holidays to everyone. Appreciate you guys sticking with us here. Whether you just discovered Purple Daily this season or whether you've been listening for multiple seasons, we really appreciate you. And if you could click the subscribe button on our YouTube channel and the like button, and if you could leave a 5-star rating and a positive review on the Apple Podcast page, that helps spread the word about this daily Vikings entertainment and therapy and Vikings vent line right after Vikings Packers finishes up on New Year's Day. Be safe out there. Declan, be safe out there.
Ugly.